It's been a long road.
Double.
Getting from there to here. It's been a long time. But my time is finally near. And I will see my dreams come alive at last. I will touch the sky. And they're not gonna hold me down no more. No, they're not gonna change my mind. 'Cause I've got faith of the heart. I'm going where my heart will take me. I've got faith to believe I can do anything. I've got strength of the soul. And no one's gonna bend or break me. I can reach and star. I've got faith. Oh, I've got faith. Faith of the heart. Space. The final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Adequate. Our ongoing mission until we are cancelled and replaced by someone who can sing far superior. To review every episode and movie of Star Trek in existence. To seek out those new guests and make them very uncomfortable. To boldly go where many other Star Trek-based YouTube shows have gone before. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Treks and Trekkers throughout this fine planet Earth. Welcome to Alive! It's alive! It's alive! Edition of Trekking Up North. I am your host, Captain Goodwill, and joining me, as ever, is the delectable Yishin from the planet Honk! He now has merchandise. He now has the stickers that is replaced.
The veg.
We have done away with fuck the Tories because we fucked the Tories. And now it's all about... I love the fact you're red for Labour. The Tories are dead.
Labour. I'm true red.
The Tories are dead. Long live the Snatch. Oh, hello there. It's Science Officer Synoiz!
Have you got the other one? Have you got the other sticker? The praise be.
Yes.
Where is it? Get the other one. The other one's
it's on my laptop. Focus,
praise
you bitch.
Be. The snatch cometh.
Focus. Praise be the snatch cometh.
That's what you need. That's what you... Me as God, which is not blasphemous at all.
I'm the Velvet Snatch. I bless you with executing the Tories. Right.
But yes, so if you buy the Snatch print from my web store or a custom handkerchief, you get stickers with it, which is quite cool. But I'm tempted to put the stickers on as an actual product because loads of people want them. They're just wanting them with the t-shirts and stuff. But yes, go to store.thevelvetsnatch.com to buy my merchandise and help my fundraising efforts, you bastards.
It's right down there in the description below, as well as all of our friends such as Captain's Quadrant. Hello, Joe. I see you in the chat there. Speaking of,
Joe.
You
want to give it a go?
We've got D-Man in the chat. Hello, David, from the moon of Jagal. We've got Christopher Reed. Oh, hang on. Hello, Christopher Reed. Who else have we got?
Me down there?
Hello. We've got Becca in the chat. We've got Beth. Hello, Beth. Yes. We've got Synoiz there. We've got.
That's the kindest you've ever been to Beth.
I know, I've had sugar.
That's the kindest. It's like you upgrading from pushing her into traffic to saying hello to her.
It makes a change from blinding.
It's a weird leap in my mind. I'm sorry.
It makes a change from blinding people. We've got Rebecca Morgan there. We've got who else have we got here? We've got everyone in the chat there. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning into this live episode. Yes, from the planet Honk, it's Science Officer Synoiz. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm just getting through everything. It's getting things ready for the Nerdy Up North quiz, which we have tomorrow, which should be quite fun. Having to mix it up a fair bit. Oh God, the teapot. No, it didn't get destroyed. The Cheers one didn't get destroyed.
No.
Oh God. Ah, I literally feel like the bit in Lord of the Rings where Elrond's trying to convince oh, what's his name? The king to throw the ring into the fire, and he's just like, cast it in, Isildur, and he's like, no. That's how you are with that teapot. You should have destroyed it by now.
Is this a lot? Is this a? I'm shutting down. Is this a Lord of the Rings reference? I'm far too uncultured to understand because I've never seen it.
I bet you watched that Babylon Fiv. You uncultured yob.
Oh. Hang on, say that again while I put the sticker on.
Yeah, there you go. You uncultured yob. Oh, hello there, you uncultured yob.
What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do the Velvet Snatch says, and I'm gonna cut out the mouth, and I'm gonna paste your mouth over it. You uncultured yob.
It's really funny when we did the Slagatha Christie show like a couple of weeks ago, one of my other fundraising ones. It was it was basically like the accent, like the character had a silly voice where they accentuated certain words, and over the course of the show it just kept getting worse and worse until they were just illegible by the end. It was just like, oh, hello there, oh, how you're doing a thing, and it was just like, what the hell is this? And it was just so dumb.
I've experienced this. When I was the Cowardly Lion in The Wizard of Oz, I played it so camp. I ain't going in there, Dorothy. I'm telling you right now. I am not going in that Emerald Castle. It's too shiny. But I was wearing spandex. But anyway, we are here.
I forgot why we're here.
Apparently...
I was laughing at me being so angry at the beginning, and it looked a bit like when Hitler's doing his speeches, but where someone's photoshopped a melon in there.
Coming soon. Soon. Adolf Snatch.
We just need those random people to turn up and be like, oh, that guy's got a Hitler tash, and you just like, never heard that one.
Yes, follow me to Poland. We are here to review, as you probably have guessed already from my attire, my hat, my terrible singing, we are here to review a Star Trek Enterprise episode, aren't we, Synoiz?
I suppose. Maybe.
Oh.
I don't know. I was actually telling you just before we started about how I had a nightmare the other day, and it was the most... You know when you don't have enough problems in your life and you have really mundane nightmares? It was literally, I had a nightmare that we were doing this and I hadn't watched the episode. That was the nightmare. Like, it's just like, wow, okay, that's the most... Considering what T'Pol has in this episode, nightmare-wise, where she dreams of horrible stuff like jazz music, it's...
Physical interaction with another person.
Physical interactions and jazz music. I mean, I know a lot of neurodivergent people who would really suffer at that situation.
For those in the north, that's the equivalent of Jeremy Kyle and Little. So we are... Well. We are here to review the Star Trek Enterprise Season 1 episode, Fusion, which... had absolutely nothing to do with the episode except the name of the jazz bar, which I found out when I rewatched this episode.
No, I think it does tie in with the episode.
A little bit.
A fusion of cultures. It's basically this idea of they are trying to fuse these two sides of the Vulcan psyche, which is like emotion and logic together.
Yeah.
And failing. So it does kind of make sense, but jazz.
Yeah. Shall we get right into it?
Oh, God. Should we get deep? Should we get deep, Captain?
We shall get deep. We shall get... It is... I love Star Trek Enterprise. I did a post earlier this week on the Nerdy Up North community Facebook page. If you are not a member, go down and click and join. I did a post this week about a rainy day, really cold, miserable day, full of rain. What is the one show that you like to watch curled up on a sofa with a nice blanket I'll throw and just watch all day. And there's a few for me. There's Stargate, Parks and Recreation, but Star Trek Enterprise has always been that standout one where I could just watch it on. It just has that thing about it that it came out at a very like defining time of my life, a very tumultuous time of my life, and this was like the comfort blanket that I needed at the time. So rewatching Enterprise for me is always a pleasure, and I forgot about this episode altogether. And what blew me away, like from the get-go, is when they're obviously going on about the nebula that Admiral Johnny Archer's book had.
The Arachnid Nebula.
The Arachnid
Which
Nebula.
sounds way more metal than it actually is.
That Archer had on his astronomy book from when he was a kid. And then they encounter these Vulcans, and the first Vulcan they encounter, the captain, is played by Robert Pine, who is Chris Pine's father.
That's a bit weird.
That is a bit like, so there has been a deep Star Trek
Foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing. Yes, it's just like, my son will take over you. It was, I didn't know it was Robert Pine, and because it was his birthday earlier this week. And TrekMovie.com were like, happy birthday to Robert Pine, who's been in a number of episodes as well as Fusion. And I was like, oh, dip, we're about to review that. And I couldn't believe it. That it's Chris Pine's
nicely
father.
coincidental. Like,
yeah,
I think I will say though, it was the weirdest thing in the whole world. Where it's like it's a shame that the episode basically forgets about Captain Tavern incredibly quickly.
He's a very good character.
Yeah, and it's one of these ones where I wonder if he's on the cutting room floor. I wonder if there was a lot more scenes with Tavern in this, and they just went, oh, it doesn't directly further the plot as much as the other Vulcan characters, so we just had to cut it out for time. Because it does seem strange that it literally introduces him, he's a great character, and it has the dinner scene, and then we never see him again. And it's a bit like, that's weird. Like, that doesn't feel like it was written that way. It feels like editing.
So the brief synopsis of this episode is the crew of Enterprise meet a group of Vulcan outcasts who embrace their own emotions, leading to trouble for T'Pol. And we see this, as you mentioned, you see this as the dinner scene. When they've encountered this Vulcan ship, it's a very old Vulcan ship, no longer in class, and they speak to Captain Tavin, who is the Vulcan captain of this ship, and he goes, are you the Earth ship Enterprise? Oh, my name's Captain Tavin. We are, they're encountering issues with their ship, and what throws them off immediately is that he goes, it's good to meet you, and he smiles. Now,
genuinely just smiling throughout the whole thing, and they're just a bit like, what the hell?
But anyone who knows Vulcans are just like, why is he smiling? Because it does throw you off. Like, I was reminded about when Tuvok in Picard season 3 smiled, and you're just like, yeah, something's up. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not a natural thing for Trekkies to look at a Vulcan and the Vulcan smiles. When we see it in those old scientists in the Strange New Worlds Lower Decks crossover, when Vulcan when Spock just smiles and he's like, ha 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 ha, and he's like, oh, I don't like that. But we get to the when they both talk and we get to this dinner scene. I really want to talk about this because it's so, I got Cybok tones from from these Vulcans, because they don't make a song and dance of it like Cybok, but they are very calm, but they are very pleasant. They are emotive, more emotive than Vulcans, but not overly emotive about it. But I love watching T'Pol in this scene, because the way that they set the scene on the dinner table is that obviously you've got Archer to camera right, T'Pol in the center, Tavin camera left, and I forget his name.
What? Cobb? No, Talaris? Is it?
Talaris, yes.
It's Talaris, because Cobb isn't there, is he? Because he's just an engineer.
He's the engineer. So we've got Talaris in the forefront, we've got T'Pol in the background in the centre, Tavin to camera left, and Archer to camera right. And we see this interaction between Tavin and Archer, and we just see T'Pol, like, it's like a game of tennis with her.
Yeah.
seeing how they're interacting, because she's absolutely perplexed. You know, she doesn't have to say anything, but you can tell by the way that Jolene Blalock plays it that T'Pol is absolutely perplexed. When the
Yeah.
food comes out, obviously, this is 2151. There is no replicators. There are fresh food, fresh meat, and everything like that. Well, stored meat. And the chicken comes out, and they're having this conversation about why they out here. Oh, well, the Vulcan High Command always overshadows me. What is that? And
Wait, they're talking about Vulcan food, where
yeah,
basically Archer's like, oh, I'm sure you'll enjoy the food because our chef has got really good at like making Vulcan food. Like even T'Pol says it's good, and
yeah.
stuff. And then Tavern's just like going, what is that you're eating? And he's like, oh, it's chicken. He's like, can I have some of that? And he's like, it is meat. You know, he's like, oh, that's fine.
Nobody
And
goes, it looks delicious. And I'm
yeah,
like,
and
what?
then you literally get this amazing shot of T'Pol just being like, you know, and it's just, oh, it's the wrong way around. It's mirrored on the thing, but it's
It's
literally
so
just T'Pol
British,
just being
though.
like,
It's
it's
so
so good.
It's a British reaction to when someone says something at the dinner table where you don't emote, you just go.
I just love the fact of like T'Pol is basically like the Vulcan thing is no matter how surprised you are, it's a raised eyebrow or something. It's
Yeah.
basically like any crack in the sort of the mask is like a big reaction. And then the fact that she literally just gives him daggers is just like, wow, she's surprised. Like, because
So
Vulcans do not eat meat. They are herbivores. I don't want to say vegetarian, basically. And that's something I always wanted to know about it, though. Like, when replicators did get invented, did they stop being vegetarian? Like, you know, when it basically just becomes protein like stuff, did they just go, oh, actually, yeah, we can eat chicken now because it isn't actually an animal, it's just proteins?
no, I think
Is it a different principle that they're doing? It's not like they don't want to kill animals, it's that they
yeah,
don't
yeah.
like.
I think Vulcans have all, like at the time of the Great Awakening, with the the followings of Sarek. Is it Sarek? Yes, Sarek.
Yeah.
Let me just double check.
It is, it's Sarek,
yeah, Sarek. They sort of rejected their not cannibalistic, but like carnivoristic.
Like cannibalistic. I was like, fucking hell, that started off strong.
It's been a
No wonder the
long
Vulcans,
week.
no wonder the Vulcans were like, maybe we should get these emotions under control. We've
Yeah.
only eaten Steve.
Oh no, we turned into people from Middlesbrough.
Hi, Daddy Lee in the chat.
Hi, Daddy Lee. So the carnivoristic urges they sort of suppressed with their emotions and learned to, tolerate their body, because with vegetarianism and veganism and stuff like that, you still need protein. And they've learned to obviously be vegetarians. But when it comes to replicators, I think they could have it because it's not real meat, but it's the principle of not having it. It's the discipline of rising above it.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, one thing that we see, like, what I'll say about this episode, okay? Because we know that I'm not, I disagree with you, like, about how Enterprise progresses. And in season 4, where it gets very much focused on Vulcan culture and whatnot, and obviously that was a foreshadowing to them bringing the Romulans in at some point. It's like I'm not as keen on that. Whereas I love this. This is what I wanted from Enterprise, of like going, hey, we're going to give you some background on the Vulcans, and this is a very lore-heavy episode for the Vulcans about how they work and stuff, which, like, stuff that's been, like, hinted at or sort of mentioned in passing in, like, previous Trek or whatnot, like about Vulcans being vegetarian, Vulcans not like, all Vulcan food being very bland and, sort of tasteless because they don't really like exciting foods because it's not their nature. This episode kind of explicitly states it and kind of just goes, hey, cool, Vulcan episode. And I quite like that this episode points out that, they like bland food, and that one of the characters is genuinely surprised when T'Pol drinks like mint tea, because they're going, oh, mint tea, ooh, that's pretty strong, that'll blow your socks off for a Vulcan. And she's just like, and she's like, oh, I like to live dangerously. She doesn't say that, but
it's kind of interesting because the first season of Enterprise we see Vulcans, but not Vulcans as we know, because Fusion is one of those episodes where we see the beginnings of the Vulcans that we know start to emerge. And this is an episode where, you know, in this time, a lot of firsts are happening for Vulcans. We've had for a number of, like, centuries at this point, Vulcans have repressed many things, like their old teachings, their old practices.
They're basically like gay Republicans.
Yeah. So they've repressed anything like the mind meld and stuff like that. So this is a turning point where we see these ancient practices that we just took for granted that, oh, this is what Vulcans do. We see them introduced in this episode at this specific time in the Star Trek timeline, and it makes you go, oh wow, like these are not the same Vulcans that we know. And there is a reason why in Enterprise the Vulcans are such dicks, really, because they are paranoid. They see a lot of themselves in humans, so they heavily restrict access to technology, scientific advancements, in case humans do what Vulcans did 2,000 years ago. The very you know, they've got the boot down, shall we say, on progression. And even in Vulcan society, everything is very restrictive. It is very to the teachings. It is very, they are a lot less liberal than what we see in the 23rd and 24th century. And we see that at this point, and I dare say and make this comparison, at this point in Star Trek, the Vulcans have more in common with the Romulans than anyone else, because they are very secretive. They've got a lot of, you know, naughty little espionage things going on, as we see with
I've forgotten the episode, but the temple,
the temple at Pajem. And we just see, you know, that there is as we progress through Enterprise, there is this sort of Republicans, Tories. This is a time when the Conservative government was in charge of Vulcan. So fuck the Tories.
But I think that's the wonderful thing though about Enterprise, where it's like the arc that it should have been allowed to have is the idea of just going, hey, the Vulcans have benefited from humanity. Like, the reason why we get the Vulcans as we know them in, like, the original series and Next Gen and well, not really Next Gen, but, you know, like DS9 and whatnot, not really DS9, Voyager, is because of this bonding between the two civilizations and them both learning from each other. And the idea of the joining together into the Federation made the Vulcans safer as a culture. And it basically meant that they no longer needed to be paranoid. They were actually on the same side as the Andorians and all of their enemies and stuff like that. So it's kind of cool that Enterprise starts off with the Vulcans being like, hey, humanity's worthless and needs to be like controlled, and we're the ones who know how to do everything and we should be in charge of everything, to eventually they're all working together and it mutually benefits everyone.
It's fantastic.
Which is what the Federation is.
Yeah, it is fantastic, because although it was only 4 seasons, you can justify Enterprise being beneficial, because we see that journey from a Vulcan perspective, the journey from having the boot down and say, no, you can't do this, you can't advance. What, you know, the whole point of like one of the things of Enterprise is it deals with, yes, the Vulcans made first contact with humans, and yes, it benefited humanity greatly, but humanity's progress, as we see in modern day, like if you look at the last 30 or 40 years, our technological progress has probably been like comparison to the last 1,000 years.
Yeah.
What we have done in the last 40 years, you know, in terms of everything that would have took us 1,000 years of other, you know, like of other cultural and well, not cultural, but technological progression. And we see that in the 90 years between Star Trek First Contact and season 1 of Enterprise, humanity has eradicated war, poverty, famine, the need for, you know, the materialistic need and stuff like that. Yes, there is still money, and yes, you know, there is still like an economy, but humanity is on the right path, and we see that, you know, in the space of, especially in season 1, because season 1 did a lot of good to establish, like, here is what happened in the 90 years. Like, within 3 years, we had Friendship 1 from Voyager that was launched, and then they launched colony ships, and then they did colonies on Mars, and then this, and then this, and like we advanced so quickly in 90 years. It parallels a lot of what we've done in the last 30 or 40 years in modern day. So the Vulcans are looking at that and going, they are advancing too far too fast. And even in season 2 of Enterprise, when they're going on about when Archer is going on about how one of his friends dies, and they're on about the warp test for the warp 5 engine, and he says, you know, if it wasn't for the Vulcans, we would have had warp 5 engines years ago, and we would be at warp 7 by now. But the fear that the Vulcans have is humanity is advancing too far too fast, that their culture and their society is not keeping up with the technological advancements, which parallels what is happening in modern day society, where we've got this massive advancement in technology, but as a society and as a culture, we are not developing at the same pace. And if you know, if you ask someone's opinion, we are actually regressing as a society in certain aspects, you know, fucking Tories. But it's Vulcans have that fear, and we see this in season 1 and season 2, and then obviously season 3 takes a deviation, but with season 4 we see a transition from the Vulcans that we know in season 1 and season 2 to the more of the Vulcans that we see going forward in the original series, and we see how and why that happened. And it's brilliant because it's through the strengthened relationship with humanity, and humanity taking the initiative to bring Vulcan's enemies together with the Vulcans and unite everyone and say, you know, we are not so different, we can work together for a common good for everyone. And that is the birth of the Federation. I still maintain to this day it is heartbreaking that this got cancelled at season 4 when it was getting to the point where it was going to be brilliant. We were going to get the Romulan War and then the formation of the Federation, and it would have been lovely to see that whole development, not just character development, but whole, you know, universe development from infancy, you know, Starfleet going out to the Federation. It would have been a wonderful thing to experience. I mean, imagine it just like going
instead what we got was a holodeck episode, but
no, it doesn't exist. It does not exist.
It does. It's canon.
No, fire it out of the cannon.
I was actually tempted to see if I could start a new channel on the Discord for Trek memes, because I've seen so many good ones lately. Like, and there was one today where it was literally the episode where 7 of 9 has a crush on Chakotay, and they have the sort of like the holodeck date thing, and he kind of goes on it, and then it's literally the next picture is someone. It is like a woman screaming and a man holding her eyes open with the words "This is canon" underneath.
Okay, guys.
It's just like, that's how I feel about that whole Chakotay 7 romance thing.
I will do. That didn't exist. I will do. I really saw a meme.
This is canon.
I did see a meme once where SEAL Team 6 invaded Osama bin Laden's cave, and on his hard drive it was nothing but Chakotay and 7 of 9 pictures. I will do you a deal. Okay, this is Synoiz doesn't know about this.
Punk.
I want a Trek memes channel in the Nerdy Up North Discord, and if you're not a member of the Nerdy Up North Discord, go and join it now. I want a Trek memes channel, and every week I will find the top 10 Trek memes of that week. And what I will do, I will create a new segment on the show, and I will place. I was going to
suggest this to you today. I was like, we should do it and have like it as a section on the show.
Before the intro runs, I will do top 10 Trek memes of that week, and I will credit each and every person for those memes on there. So if you want your name in lights for all of 6 people to view,
Six people's optimistic. Like 6 people. We can only dream around 6 people watching our shit.
It's not even telling me. It's just like you don't want to know. Top 10 memes every week for Star Trek. I will put them in the show every week, and your name will be in lights, and you'll be forever immortalized in a random episode of Trekking Up North. If you can make it into episode 69, which is next week of Trekking Up North, nice. You will win absolutely nothing because I'm broke.
Yeah, that sounds like a perfect deal, to be fair. But yeah, we should totally do that. But what I will say is, when you're posting memes in the thing, make sure that if it is there, you include where you got it from, like what group or who created it. Because always credit your memes. Don't
always
share them
credit
without
your
crediting,
memes
if you can.
Do not plagiarize. And if bonus points for OG memes. Bonus points.
Memes.
If you do original Star Trek memes, they will go front and center above anything else. So I'm looking at you, Hopi. Get original memes on Trekking Up North. And then what I will do, I will then spam them all over Nerdy Up North, Twitter/X, my Twitter/X, and Instagram. So get on it, guys. Back to the episode.
So the next scene we get after the intro and the theme song, we have
done the dinner.
Well, during the dinner, like, what is it that they're called? Is it the Tashkatal?
It is the Tashkatur.
Tashkatur.
The Tashkatur. I will put it in the chat because everyone.
It sounds like something you order from a restaurant where you're like, "Could I have the tashkatur, please?" And they're like, "Do you want it with chips?"
It sounds like
chips or salad.
Tashkatur, spit on that thing. Yes, the Tashkatur. I'll just put it in the chat there. They are literally Vulcans without logic. Which Tavin is very quick to point out. They are not completely without logic. They just learn to merge logic. It's not the be all and end all, essentially, and they learn to deal with logic and emotions and learn to live symbiotically with them. And again, it's Cybok. This is how Cybok is.
And it's this idea, though, of like the wonderful thing about this episode is it's giving depth to like. What I want to say about this episode is how it basically points out that we shouldn't be forcing our ideals onto other races. That's what the crew of the Enterprise need to learn. And in this, we have it where basically like Captain Archer is kind of in the bad in this episode, I think. Like, I see Captain Archer as being in the bad because he's basically going, hey, yeah, emotions are good. Like, every Vulcan should totally lighten up and stuff. And T'Pol, you should do like these people kind of thing. And we're kind of going, yeah, that's a human thing, and you're forcing it on the Vulcans. And what we basically see is, no, there is a very, very valid reason why Vulcans control their emotions and whatnot. Because Vulcan emotions are insane. Like, they are so intense. Over the top and out, intense and over the top and crazy, like we see in Strange New Worlds. And so it's this idea of trusting in other cultures having things for a reason, I think, is the lesson of this episode. And it's quite nice to see Archer in a bad way because he's like, and what we do, we get a wonderful scene at the end, but we'll get into that later. But it's basically where Archer apologizes, and it's done in a really, really good way. But anyway,
I like, because what's his name again? I've lost his name. Talaris. Yeah. Basically says to T'Pol.
I wrote him down because his name isn't mentioned until like halfway through the episode, so I just wrote it down in my notes saying "smoldering Vulcan."
I just got him as
because they got an actor where basically they were just like, "Are you just permanently doing this sort of like, face?" And it's a bit, I don't know. You know this horrible thing where, when someone's attractive, but they very much know it, and it's got that too much cockiness, and it starts being revolting. Maybe that's not a straight thing, but it's
I just had him down as that dude from Without a Trace.
Oh, is he? I didn't
Yeah.
recognize the actor at all.
This is
But
the episode he did before he got the regular gig in Without a Trace. So I just got him as that dude from Without a Trace. But he goes on about they're all about emotions, and Talaris apologizes to Paul for being offended in regards to emotions, and she just turns around and goes, I'm unable to be offended. And it's a great, like, because we see this great conflict between the Vashkatur and T'Pol, who has obviously embraced logic and has gone through not the Kolinar to purge all emotions, but has gone through the teachings of Sarek. To purge their
I think
emotions.
it's Sorok, isn't it?
Sorok, yes.
Sorry, yeah, Sorok, because Sarek's a different guy,
yeah. Sarek is Spock's father. But it's really funny because Vulcans do not purge all emotions unless they've passed the Kolinar. So there are Vulcans that do experience emotions, but they're on a very, very, very suppressed level. And as we find out in this episode, Vulcans meditate daily to maintain their composure and maintain their control over these suppressed emotions. I like Kov in this episode. I think Kov
is it Kov? I had it as Cobb with a B.
K-O-V. He's the Vulcan engineer, but I dare say he's the young, curious type. He's the one where he's gone on this. He's following these people, and then he's encountered humanity for the first time, and he's like I put it to like a kid, like experiencing something for the first time and just asking question after question after question. But it's really telling of how Vulcans see humans, where some Vulcans don't fully understand what humanity is, who humanity are, and their rituals and their culture. And we see this, like, it's really telling that do Vulcans really not like humans because they don't fully understand humans?
Wait, this is the wonderful thing, because it's what we usually have in Trek is two races that have never had any interaction with each other, learning about each other from a standpoint of like zero experience. This is an exception where we basically have two races that are aware of each other, have some understanding of each other, but not enough to actually fully understand it.
Yeah.
And I parallel it to how we are with a lot of cultures in our world. Like, it's this idea that, like, fascinating stuff, like when you actually sit down and meet, like, sort of, someone from the Middle East or whatever, and you talk about, hey, what's it like living in sort of like, Saudi Arabia? Like, what's it like sort of being like a native Japanese person or living in like rural China? And just kind of, we have these misconceptions of, oh, well, Saudi Arabia, you must treat women really bad, and you don't drink alcohol, and you don't do this, and you don't do that. And we have these misconceptions, whereas they have quite a lovely, happy life. It's just in a different balance to ours. And they're looking at us being like, oh, you're crazy heathens, or you're really stupid, or you're like this. And it's quite fun seeing this portrayed in Star Trek, of this Vulcan guy having all these misconceptions of going, oh, like, humanity's brutal and they murder each other and they have all these blood sports like rugby and stuff, or well, like American football. And the guy's like, where he's like going, is it true that this guy, you always kill this guy? And it's like, no, it's a tackle. He's like going, no, they just hold him down until they get the ball off him. And he's like, oh, okay, right.
There's blood sports like water polo and croquet.
I like that they have that, where it's that miscommunication between two cultures and like how we build together. Also, what I want to mention about Kov is addressing the elephant in the room. Have we ever seen a fat Vulcan before? They don't exist. Like, because Vulcans are so controlled, like they literally go, hey, you're gonna eat this bland food, we're not gonna overeat at all, we're not gonna indulge ourselves at all. So Vulcans, every Vulcan that I think we've seen in Trek is very trim, is very sort of like standard. So it's kind of jarring to see a chubby Vulcan, basically.
It shows that Vulcans, as we know them, are very disciplined about their food. Well, I mean, they are disciplined about everything. We see this. We see this in later seasons of Enterprise, where they are up at 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning, preparing the first meal of the day. They do meditation, they do this, they do this. And we see that these Vashkatur are embracing not a hedonistic life, but they are embracing their will and their freedom. I can eat whenever I want. I can eat whatever I want. And for some people, they'd be like, okay, I can do that, but I still need to keep fit, or I can do it in moderation. But it's interesting to see Vulcans who struggle with moderation and willpower, and then we see someone. I wouldn't say he's fat. I would say he's larger than what we are used to, and it's brilliant because it portrays that they want to experience everything in life. I mean, in the mess hall scene, because obviously in Ingenuity he goes, "Oh, do humans have 6 meals a day, and do you sleep for most of the day?" And I'm just like, I do, but it's he's going on about that, and then in the mess hall where he's on about mating. And the tables are turned.
I love the idea though. Is it true that you mate year round with any females, any of them who you choose?
All the time. But
yes, you have the sex.
I have the sex. I have the multiple with the women.
Although I do quite like Lee said in the chat, I don't believe Vulcans actually meditate. It's like, oh, I'm going to my room to meditate. Don't disturb me. I love the idea though that the Vulcan just gets there and it's like, oh, I'm going to meditate, and they just get their phone out and just check memes. It's just literally scrolling, doom scrolling.
The one thing I don't want to see is Vulcan Pornhub.
Yes, that is quite sufficient. Thank you.
Oh my.
Please tell me Vulcan porn exists. Like someone must have done a parody of this.
I have completed.
Was it good for you? It was adequate. That was sufficient.
Is it in? I am incapable of feeling.
I feel seen and I'm hurt.
What I was going to say.
They are fucking children, Goodwill.
Vulcans wouldn't say thank you. Wow, Sarah.
Amy McGuinness, I came for the debauchery, was not disappointed.
Is that what the Vulcans would say?
Lee's mentioned Gornhub. Gornhub, yes.
Gornhub.
That's a callback.
If anyone plays Star Trek Online, guaranteed any public like space dock Vulcan or like any public map where there's a gathering, you will just see the chat going Gornhub, Gorntube, Gorn Hamster.
Gorn Hamster? What?
Yeah.
No,
never
let's
mind.
explain
never
that
mind.
later.
Never mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when we see, like,
don't Google it, Amy. Don't Google
it. At least do it in incognito mode. But at least when we see in the mess hall where the tables turn and Trip's asking Kov questions about, are you having a monster?
I am. Well, I'm going to be streaming after this, so I've got to.
Bastard! Who drinks energy drinks this time of the night?
I've got to get through the energy drinks.
Hit me up.
Oh, Red Bull. But I've got Monster, which is far classier than your Red Bull. Oh, Mountain. You know what, Goodwill? I know we're going to the U.S. of A. At the end of the
colonies.
The colonies. We're going to check out all of them. Yes. I hope they've got our tea ready. I'm actually genuinely worried about how I might have a sort of violent emotional response when people say words like "do" rather than like "Jew." They're just like Mountain Dew, and I'm not ready for this.
So
I'm gonna have to meditate. I'm gonna have to meditate like T'Pol at the end of every day, being like, they're saying the words wrong. I've seen a sign and there's no U's anywhere.
So what you are saying is, because our first destination when we get off the plane is Walmart. Yeah. What you are saying is you are going to be arrested hour one of being in the USA being dragged out by burly men going, "It's you, you bastards!"
They've spelt it without a U.
But yeah, so when we see in the mess hall, where the tables turn and Trip is asking Kov about it, and he's like, "There's something I want to know. Well, how do you do it?" And he's just like, "Oh, sex." And I love the fact, like, going back to like him being slightly larger than the average Vulcan, where he's like, "Oh, well, we are trying to, initiate and try to encourage more mating than every 7 years." And I love Malcolm Reed. It's the only reaction I like, and he's just like, "Crikey."
I mean, poor Malcolm Reed. Like, I feel sorry that this is. You know how we were talking about like Babel from DS9 last week, and about how wonderful it is that it uses every character. Every character is there and has something to do, except for Keiko. But silver linings.
She's just planning murders.
Yeah, she's just planning to be the evil of the universe.
Yeah.
But in this one, we get, Hoshi's not used. Malcolm Reed has like 2 lines and gets to be there in the background practically. And I've totally forgotten his name. The pilot, Anthony
Travis
Montgomery.
Mayweather.
No, is it Travis?
Travis Mayweather.
Yeah, no, Mayweather isn't even in it, I don't think.
They all got
maybe
paychecks.
In a passing bridge shot. They got a paycheck, but it seems a shame that the episode goes like, no idea what these guys are going to do.
Yeah. Yeah. But he's so, considering that Vulcans, as we see in many, many episodes, ones that we've covered, especially Blood Oath, where the Pon farr and the mating rituals are so private, they are so taboo and so like hidden in Vulcan society that they do not discuss it, even up to the 24th century, where they're just like, it's only like trained medical professionals that will do it, and only then will they discuss it in the privacy and everything like that. To see a Vulcan in like 2151 just going, "Oh, sex, yes, we have that every 7 years, but we're trying to have more." And it's like, it really shows how different these Vulcans are compared to what we know, and how open and just honest they are about Vulcan culture, and that they will just answer any question that humans have and not be offended by it. And it's remarkably refreshing. And I dare say, like, I would love to have seen more of these if it wasn't for the events of this episode of what happened with Talaris, because I think we need to really get into this relationship that T'Pol has with Talaris, because Talaris is very much an enabler in this episode.
But this is the thing though, where it's the idea of, like, we complain about the Vulcans in Enterprise. We basically say like, like, oh, they were such dickheads. Like, like you were saying about Archer being like, oh, they held us back and they did all of this, and like, oh, they treated us like children. And then you realize that that's Vulcans projecting their problems onto humanity. Basically, the Vulcans going, oh, wow, if we were in this situation, we would totally fuck everything up. If we were advancing this fast, we would be like destroying the universe and causing all this chaos and stuff like that. And that kind of justifies why they act like that to humanity. And humanity, I can't believe I'm saying this, has more restraint than the Vulcans, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because what we see in this episode is just how dangerous Vulcan emotions are. And the fact is, like, because I had forgotten this episode, okay? I like we had the last couple of weeks, so I'm like, oh, I totally remember this episode, and it's just rewatching it to remind me. This episode I totally forgotten about, and I made a note about how much Talaris looks like a druggie. Like, the way that they've painted his face, like when it has scenes between him and T'Pol, he has like these red eyes, and it's literally like basically weed eyes, like it looks like he's a stoner. And I was like, oh, that's really weird that the makeup artist has left that in, or that they haven't like covered that up that much, and they've allowed this blush on his cheeks and stuff, and it doesn't really look right. And then we realize that the whole thing over the course of the episode is that he's an addict. Like, he is someone who is riding these emotions, and he's addicted to the thrill of new emotions and whatnot, and he's hurting the people around him trying to get the next kick. you know,
Yeah.
and that's what happens basically.
But as we see with most addicts, and even if you are addicted to coffee, energy drinks, smoking, or anything like that,
Hardcore gone porn.
yes, I put that because I don't care. If you're addicted to gone porn, the you never
Gone porn.
um,
What is gone porn? Is it literally
it is
just
porn for
like
gone.
no, but is it like getting crushed by boulders and stuff?
Have you seen their tongues? It's as we see with most like it is very hard. Like the first time you do something and it's amazing, and it's very hard to replicate that thrill, and the need to, the more you do it, the more you take Synoiz there with the energy drink. If that was his first ever energy drink, he'd be like, "Ugh!" But now he's had many energy drinks and he's just like, eh. And the more the more you need that, the more you have to take, the more substance you have to take.
It's escalation. It's the idea of like where and it's odd because it's kind of the opposite of Vulcans, because Vulcans are basically suppressing their emotions and becoming numb to them in order to deal with them. And then on the opposite side, you've got like Vulcans getting numb to stuff, not by restraint, but by experiencing them. So it's this idea of like this Vulcan would kind of like Talaris would probably be immune to lesser emotions way more than T'Pol would be due to becoming numb through familiarity. But then but that's not the way it works. It's the fact of they're trying to chase that high and they're sort of escalating it themselves, you know?
And we see Talaris almost manipulating T'Pol throughout the episode. I mean, it starts with the mint tea.
We're going to say it, grooming.
Yes.
What he is doing is he is grooming her. He is going, hey, you need to be like me so that we can both be stoners together. I'm saying stoners like stoners is a bad thing. It's just I don't know what the word is, like druggies, because obviously weed, not really a problem. You can't really get addicted to weed. You just become really boring if you take it loads. But like actual hardcore drugs, like sort of heroin or heroin or ketamine or something like that. But he is trying to drag her down to his level so that they can do it together and so that he can feed off her and her emotions, because she is not numb yet, whereas he is.
He's a parasite.
It's grooming.
He is a parasite, and he's exploiting T'Pol because of the events that she's had in her past and the fact that she's the only Vulcan on a human ship. So she is constantly surrounded by emotions, by sensations that normal Vulcans at this time period are not used to. She's in a confined vessel with 87 humans.
And there's a weakness there.
Yes.
It's the fact of, and this is how like pushers and dealers and everything like that works, is the fact of they can tell from a distance, like he does, when someone has a weakness, when someone is a potential victim, and he immediately goes, you haven't fully suppressed your emotions. And whether that is because she spent like 7 months on the Enterprise, or she spent so long around humans, or if it's just a case of T'Pol as a person is not like we see that she's not the perfect Vulcan that she'd like to be. She's not Tuvok. It's like Tuvok is the example of the perfect Vulcan that we get as a regular character in Trek. Like, because Spock is very emotional the more that you see of the original series for a Vulcan. And T'Pol is basically in the middle, where she wants to be very Vulcan, she wants to be very cold, but there is this warmth to her,
But we see we see Talaris do that very stereotypical thing that pushers and I don't know what word we need to say.
I don't know the terminology.
Groomers do, where they go, this is for your benefit. What I am encouraging you to do is for
helping you. It'll open your mind. It'll be great,
When he goes on about the meditation, like, do you meditate every night? Yes, I meditate every night. And he just goes, skip tonight. It will make you, it will make you experience dreams.
Yeah, and he's saying it'll be a fun experience, but what he actually means is it'll make you weaker and more
Yes.
susceptible for me pushing more.
Yeah, but he does it in the guise of it is for your benefit. I am trying to introduce you to a new way of life that could enhance you, that could make you a better Vulcan. Our way has shown that we are better. And what we see, and this is, I'm kind of glad that Tavin is not in this more, but I'm kind of disappointed that he isn't, because for me, Tavin is the perfect example of one of the well-rounded Vashkatur, where he's got logic, he's got emotion, but they are all in check, and he is just perfectly balanced as it should be. And we see, and I know, again, we're not referencing his size, but it's almost like the 7 deadly sins are represented. We see gluttony, and we see, you know, like desire and whatever. And we see that Tavin is like the quintessential, this is what the perfect Voshkatur should be. And then you look at Talaris, and then you go, this is the extreme where you don't discipline, you don't have that balance. And it's like Vulcans are all about discipline. Yeah. Tavin has disciplined the logic and the emotion, but Talaris is undisciplined and is going down a hedonistic route where he wants the next high, and he doesn't care where he gets it from.
And it's this idea of like, you always need this is the problem we have with so much stuff, where the person in charge is a great example of stuff. Like, you know, is the person who has the right idea. And I don't know whether it's that Tavern is the one who started the movement, and he's kind of the one who's recruited people and started this up. It implies that, but we don't know. We just know that he is.
Yeah, I don't think he started the movement. I think he adopted a idealism on Vulcan. And he's decided, you know, I don't want to remain on this planet. I would be subjugated, and, you know, I would.
But this is the thing. It's like, because the Voshkatur isn't a name for a particular group. Like, it's not like a cult or a church name or something. It's literally just a term for when this happens. Because, like we say, like we have Topol saying, this happens a lot. This isn't the first time that Vulcans have tried to do this, and it's the point of, it's like going, oh, that person's like a vegan or something, where it's going, hey, it's a term for people who do a particular thing, rather than but I kind of wonder if this ship of people is Tavern, where he's like started a new group of it.
He started a cult.
Yeah, effectively, of going, hey, everyone, come with me, and we'll go
join this
for a
Facebook
joyride around space and stuff.
We'll review movies every Sunday.
Do you think Tavern likes the Goonies, or is he a man of logic?
He's a man of pure logic and emotion. Perfectly balanced.
I'm just testing the water if Paul's in the chat.
He's fine. But yeah,
poke that bear.
So we see Tavern, who is like the well-rounded one, but we see Talaris is the worst one, and we see, I mean, if you look at it, Tavern, Kov, and Talaris, it is like good, medium, bad.
Yeah.
Kov is not. He's not a bad person. He's got a history with his father where he hasn't spoken to his father in 8 years, and you know, things are a little bit iffy there, but he's still very curious, and he has no discipline when it comes to boundaries. We see Talaris,
but he's not going wild.
No, he's not.
It's like he's not. And it's this idea of like, with ideologies, the fact of how we're defined by the worst aspects of stuff. Like, it's the fact of this movement, we look at it and we're like, hey, this is actually kind of cool. But then by the end of the episode, we're like, oh, maybe this won't work. But we have seen it work. We've seen Kov being quite a great little person kind of thing, like, and actually being pretty stable and getting on with people. We've seen Tavern being great. But the way it works is because we saw an absolute fucking psychopath in Talaris, we go, hey, this doesn't work. And there's so many aspects of our culture where we can say that, where we just go like, oh, actually, all these people are dickheads. And it's not. It's just simply because the ones we focus on are the occasional nutter, you know?
The one bad apple upsets the whole cart, really.
Exactly, yeah.
But the relationship with T'Pol and Talaris deepens when Archer asks T'Pol to work on the Vulcan shuttle, the Vulcan ship, whilst they're mapping this nebula.
He
And
pushes her.
Yeah,
He genuinely goes, I don't know why you're not hanging out with these Vulcans. These are the first Vulcans we've met in ages. They're great. You should spend some time with these people. Maybe you'll loosen up a bit.
Yeah.
And he genuinely thinks he's helping because he believes, like I'm saying, he's pushing British human culture onto her.
British culture.
British culture, it's the only one.
Tea.
Bring back the colonies.
Tea and sense of humour. T'Pol, you must watch Are You Being Served?
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, and he does kind of say, "Hey, I'll assign you to sort of work on their ship."
The hesitation, yeah, the hesitation when she's agreeing with it, like she doesn't question it, but she hesitates. And I think what I would love to have seen is a scene at the end, because we'll get to the ending. But I wanted to see. And I was having a look to see if there was a deleted scene, but I wanted to see an Archer to Paul interaction where Archer learns from the experience and apologizes for what he's done. Because this is season 1 is Archer and his naivete when it comes to alien cultures.
The thing is, we'll get to it, okay? We'll get to it. But I believe that he does apologize in a roundabout way at the end of the episode. But continue.
Yeah. So the relationship between them both deepen, and we see that there is an instance where T'Pol is asleep in her bunk, and she is dreaming, and it is what we would call possibly a vivid dream.
Crazy jazz dreams.
It is a jazz dream. She is reminiscing about a time where she stuck. Oh, thank you so much.
Oh,
for
what's this?
We've got a subscriber to the Nerdy Up North YouTube channel. Thank you.
What does that mean?
I can afford to eat.
Thank you so much, Amy McGuinness. Thank you. Are you enjoying the discussion? Do you agree?
Are you
with
enjoying
us?
it?
.org?
Please, guys, please subscribe. Please give me money. I'm so poor. We see this vivid dream where she's reminiscing of a time where she snuck out of the Vulcan compound. She is wearing a headdress to cover up her Vulcan ears, despite the fact she has got the best Vulcan brows I have ever seen. And even women from Middlesbrough are going, hey, I'd bloody love that. But she sneaks off, and we hear this very, very chaotic jazz music playing in the background. It's very slow. It's very early 2000s dream sequence, where there is a lot of smoke. It's dark. It's an alleyway. Jazz music starts playing, and we see that.
I will say, I get really annoyed at how Trek just seems to have this obsession with fucking jazz and fucking like sort of Sinatra crooning music. Like throughout all of them, the creators fucking love it. And I just think that in the 22nd century, like when this is set, I'm hoping jazz is dead. That's I won't be around, but I'm hoping that jazz is dead.
The reason is twofold. One, music royalty costs a bomb. 2, everyone who worked on Trek from the 60s all the way to the early 2000s, they were 50s children. They had the Rat Pack, they had the jazz, 50s and 50s sci-fi is so heavily baked in to Star Trek. That's why we are seeing a lot of people disagreeing with new Trek, because it's like, it's not really Star Trek. Yes, because the people doing it grew up in the 80s and 90s when this Trek sci-fi was going on. So they are paralleling what the producers and the showrunners and the crew grew up with in the 50s and 60s. So get away, but jazz is there. But we see that she's hearing this jazz music, and it's getting louder and louder, and it's interplayed with sequences of her and Talaris together in the mess hall and in the bunk. And
they're having the sex?
Not yet, because she goes into this jazz bar called Fusion. And you're just like, ho, 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 the name of the episode, quite lazy. But she goes in and she's sitting down. She's listening to the chaotic beats of jazz. And I know what you said about jazz, and I understand it. However, no, hear me out on this. Hear me out on this.
Okay.
There is an intricate relationship between music and math. There's always been that relationship between music and math. And what is the one thing that jazz goes against? It goes against mathematic formulas. It goes against like tempos and stuff like that. It's very chaotic. It's very all over the place. And for a Vulcan who can appreciate music because of the mathematical properties in it, to hear music played chaotically is a sensation to them. It is an overwhelming sensation because it is music but not as they know it. So they are embracing the illogical aspect of jazz. Because
I actually, I totally agree. I totally agree that jazz makes sense to be like the gateway drug for Vulcans.
Yes.
But I still hate it.
Yeah, well, to each, I'm classic rock and country music because I'm a good old boy. But when we see this dream sequence, this is interplayed with her embracing the chaotic sounds that she is hearing, whilst also embracing Talaris. So she's not only embracing the hedonistic pleasures of the sex, she's also having the sensation of this chaotic music playing in her head. She's basically overwhelming her senses in this vivid dream. And she's having this because she has not meditated. So her suppression is starting to slip a little. Yeah. And, this is the first instance where after this dream sequence where Talaris is speaking to her, he's like, did you meditate? No. How was your dream? And he starts to probe deeper into this.
It's creepy. I hate this so much.
It is unsettling.
It really upsets me, this, because he's basically like, we have the thing in the dream sequence where the statue of Sirach that we saw earlier tumbles and shatters to represent, like her breaking with logic.
Her belief is being shattered. Her ideology is being shattered as she is experiencing this.
But the whole thing is how without boundaries Talaris is, where basically she's just sitting down to work and she's like, hey, I'm going to do these things. And he's just like, did you dream? And she's like, yes, I did. I don't want to talk about it. He's like, tell me about your dreams. And it's so intrusive. It's so sort of pushy. And you can tell that it's very much not for her benefit. He wants to know because he wants to know.
Yeah.
Like, rather than actually trying to guide her through something or trying to help with something. And this is the scene where you see how red his eyes are, and like more than before. And it makes me go, oh, it was intentional by the makeup artist to make him look like an addict, rather than what I thought to start with, that it was a bad makeup job.
I mean, she goes to the sickbay after the vivid dream as well to speak to Phlox, and Phlox is
and we get the only fucking scene with Phlox. Like, he's my favorite character in Enterprise, and I'm going to say he steals the show. He steals the show in this one scene that he's got. He is fantastic in this scene, but it annoys me that they're literally like, shit, what can we do with Phlox this episode?
Because she's just like, oh, well, I'll just have a little bit of medication. It's just a headache, and then I will be fine. And Phlox is concerned. The whole Kov and his father with Archer, like, because Archer gets a message from Starfleet. That,
hold on. Can we talk about the Phlox thing more, though?
No, absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, just because I want to say, though, because obviously Phlox, what's Phlox's race called?
The Denobulans.
The Denobulans.
Denobulans.
Denobulans. I've never actually ever said that out loud. Like the amount that we talk about Trek, I've never needed to say Denobulan. Denoble, whatever.
Denobulan. 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 Say it.
Mountain
northern.
Dew.
Say it northerly. Dew. You are from the north. Denobulan.
Denobulan.
Thank you.
There we go.
God.
Does it come with chips? Anyway.
Optimism, Captain. Anyway,
all I do, okay, and I'm so glad that he takes it in good spirits, is basically all I seem to do is send abusive voice notes to Adam. Like literally like the wonderful Adam Ashbridge, who does all of our music at Nerdy Up North,
he does the theme for Trekkin Up North as well.
Yeah, he does the Voyager theme. And if you would like the Voyager theme that he did, you can get his album from Adam Ashbridge Music. It's on Bandcamp.
It is.
And it's called Nerdy Up North Volume 1. And it's a collection of all of the music that he's done and all the covers that he's done. And literally, I listened to it and it was absolutely brilliant. And I sort of messaged him with a voice note being like, right, so I'm listening to this like album you've like released and stuff by like Adam Ashbridge. And like it's a bit like gay, isn't it? It's like, is it like music for like puffs and that? And stuff. And it just sent it this voice note. This is all I do. All I do is literally, it's almost like when you're in school and there's a girl you like, and rather than flirting in a sensible way, you just insult them. That's literally my relationship with Adam. Is literally just being weirdly mean.
Flirting with a girl, isn't that a bit gay?
Well, you know. Like women are just like men, but with
I
different
genuinely
bits.
had that. I genuinely had that at secondary school or high school if you're from the colonies, where my first ever girlfriend, I had a group of lads and they're like, hey, you got a girlfriend, you? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, fucking gay. And I'm just like, you're missing the point. You're missing the point. You could...
The idea of having a girlfriend is gay.
Yeah, I was like, you're missing the point of what a girl is.
Now, I know that Section 28 has fucked all of us up, but I do feel we're missing a crucial thing here. If you think that having a girlfriend is gay.
To be fair, this is the same lad that in PE in year 8 went, I can't do PE today, sir. And he went, why not? He went, time of the month. And the teacher looked at it, just went, does it hurt? And he went, can hardly talk, sir. I was like, okay, you should. But I think he just missed biology. But
it sounds like he missed quite a lot of school, if I'm perfectly honest, and quite a lot of brain cells. But it's.
Anyway, go on.
I forgot what we were saying, but yeah, Adam Ashbridge music, and that was a tangent. That was a tangent and a half.
Having a girlfriend is gay. Pass it on.
Yeah,
go on.
Oh no, seriously, the first guy, okay, that I had a crush on in school, like this must have been about 12 or 13 or something like that. It was just when I was like, opening up and realizing sort of
the awakening of Synoiz.
I bullied the fuck out of him. Like I was so incredibly mean to him, and it was the epitome of it's easier to be nasty to someone than to be kind to them, and I literally keep going, like, I should probably message him, like 30 years on or something, and be like, yeah, so sorry about being such a bastard, but I won't.
So Flocks.
Yeah, so Flocks. No, but I like the idea that there's the Nobulan. It's like they are a very hedonistic race. We basically see that they are very hedonistic. They're very sort of in touch with their
7
emotions.
wives.
Yeah, they have 7 wives. They have
uber gay
husbands. They have all these things. Can you imagine how gay that would be to have that many wives?
Sarah Peaches said, so they weren't meaning gays and happy? No, I mean, I don't think he could spell his own name. But yeah.
Wait, wasn't this in Redcar? Happiness is banned, isn't it?
This was not Redcar. This was when I was young and I lived in a place called Normanby, where it was
Normandy.
Normanby
on the beaches.
Normanby. With a B, and it's,
that sounds like the flat next door to Normandy.
They're
like, oh, sorry, the package. Oh, it's not. This is Normandy. That's for Normanby.
Do you remember Korea, where they were just like in year 9, where they're like, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" And for me, I was like, I like motorsport, and I would like to go into motorsport. I would like to go into motorsport mechanics and everything like that. And they're like, you are from Middlesbrough. You have 2 choices: McDonald's or the steel industry. And I'm like,
as in theft.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, dream shattered at aged 13. But yeah,
I did two things. A, I misheard you there, and I thought you said, remember in Korea, and I was like, not specifically. That's a you experience there, but I was like,
da,
when
da,
you were
da,
in
da,
North
da,
Korea,
da,
and you're like,
da, da. Da, 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 da. I was radar. Go on.
also the idea of like I had the work career or whatever in school where you take the test, and I got social worker, and I was like, back in the day, I was like, are you fucking kidding? Like, can you imagine me as a social worker?
Have you
Actually,
tried not
actually
being a
now,
twat?
yeah, that's it. Have you tried setting yourself on fire? It's
Close your legs,
like...
and that's it.
Close your legs and your mouth, son. Uh,
Pajamas in Tesco are frowned upon. Go on.
but yeah, no. Actually, to be fair, the way I am now, I'm far more adjusted because I was like a troubled teenager.
Fucking hell,
But
you're adjusted.
well, far better than that. Like I can actually imagine now that I could probably be a social worker. But back then, I was just like, if this test is psychic, this test is either very, very psychic or it's bullshit. But anyway, yeah, I forgot.
Flocks.
That was a big test. Yeah, but
Flocks.
okay, flocks. So the Globians, they're a hedonistic culture, and they're
Yep.
doing the same as Archer, where they're pushing their beliefs and cultures onto the Vulcans,
Yep.
where he's going, hey, you should maybe open up more. Maybe you should lead into this experience. And he is like, hey, be careful with it. But at the same time, it's dangerous advice from a culture that doesn't get her culture. And I think this is like we see with all of Enterprise, where we go like, hey, they didn't have shields, hey, they didn't have teleporters, hey, they didn't have like replicators and stuff. This is another one where like they don't have the cultural understanding of the other races to be able to give advice to them. And
Yeah.
that's what the important bit about this episode is. And this is why I love season one.
But it's really
Yeah.
telling of early in the Star Trek timeline where the cultures, like obviously we see in Star Trek where the cultures are unified and everyone is tolerable and everyone appreciates and understands it.
Do you mean tolerated or tolerable?
Tolerable. Everyone is tolerable of other people's cultures, except the Dutch. But we see spit take.
As if the Dutch exist.
Um,
They're just made up to scare children.
no, they all got flooded.
If you're bad, the Dutch will get you.
But we see with Archer and Kov, when Archer gets a message that the Vulcan High Command want to relay that Kov's father is ill and might not have long to live, and he wants to speak to his father. And we see that Kov has sort of resided to the fact that his father and him no longer have a relationship. There is no longer a need for Kov to speak to his father. And we see where Archer is basically saying, hey, if you don't speak to your father, if you don't communicate with your father now, you will regret it. Imparting what many of us have, if you don't make your peace and say your goodbyes, shall we say, that you will regret it. And Kov is very steadfast when he's basically saying, my father said that I had brought shame to 15 generations of our family. I said goodbye to him a long time ago.
Yeah, that's it. He says, tell him we said goodbye to each other a long time ago, which is a brutal line. But the thing I want to say about this, though, is that, like, one thing we have in the queer community is the idea of, like, when you're rejected by your parents, because this still happens a lot nowadays, especially in places like America and whatnot, is the idea of when someone comes out to their parents and their parents reject it and basically go, hey, get out, or you're not allowed to be like this. And, we have conversion therapy and other terrible things like that should be banned, sorted out, fucking Labour. Now that you're in, it's this idea of basically like, there's another side to it of over time, you should be able to forgive your parents. And I think a lot of gay people who have been rejected in this way do not. They very much do not speak to their parents at all. And obviously, as things go on, the parents go like, oh shit, like I'm old and frail and I totally lost this relationship with my child because of me being a dick. And
Yeah.
you can kind of see that that's what's happened with, like, obviously he came out saying, "Hey, mom and dad, I'm a hedonist effectively."
Yeah.
Uh, and they sort of went, "Right, get out of this house." And it's the fact that he's not willing to forgive, and whatnot. And it's that two-way street that, like, I think we have a lot where, like, regret and forgiveness, it comes from both sides, I think.
I think this is a time where Archer is in the right
Hmm.
when it comes to what he thinks Kov should do, and I like. I had an issue with Trip's explanation to Kov in regards to why Kov
Oh yeah,
should,
later on,
yeah,
yeah.
why Kov should speak to his father. I mean, we'll get into it now. We'll wrap up
Yeah.
the Kov line, the Kov story. Um, to compare Kov's situation to a date, like not asking out a girl when he was very young to a dance, I
Well,
it didn't resonate. Like it's two very contrasting things.
I think the thing is, I'll counter that with the things that are important to individuals are all different. So in Trip's world, this is a massive deal.
Yeah,
Like, as in, to us it wouldn't be. We'd be like, "Oh, it was just a girl," kind of thing.
yeah,
But we've got to think that the joy of Trip is he's such a deep character, but such an incredibly shallow character.
yeah,
It's like, where basically it's the idea of going, no, he's a red-blooded male who he likes girls, he likes simple pleasures and stuff, and he loves engineering. That's how he's so endearing, because he is a simple man, like, in
mm,
the scheme of things, compared to the more complex characters that we have on Enterprise.
yeah,
And I kind of like that he's going, "Hey, this is the only way that I can explain what I mean to you is through this very specific, anecdote from my life of something that meant something to me." And it's a weird
yeah,
one. But
yeah.
I will say though, I do find a weird little thing where he's like, what is it? I wrote it down. It was yeah, he practiced the two-step with the girl's brother.
Brother, yeah. But then I
Yeah, and I'm just like
realized,
going, that's a weird sort of thing. He's like sort of doing this sort of
but then I
learning how to
realized,
dance with another man.
Trip's from Florida, so
Oh,
so I'm surprised it wasn't an alligator. But we,
I'm glad they blew it up. Yay, season 3. Take that, Florida.
oh, too soon.
The average age of America just goes to about 30.
Oof. But yeah, getting back to Talaris and to Paul. This is the scene that sort of, for me, is the pivotal scene in the episode. This is the introduction, in Enterprise at least, to the Vulcan mind meld, where we get the exposition from Talaris that it is an ancient, unpracticed technique that hasn't been done for hundreds of years, but it's the joining of two people's minds to experience both people's minds, so both can experience each other's sensations. And he describes it as it's a good way to release and deal with emotions, much more effective than guided meditation. So again, we see this grooming,
which is true. Like,
it
what
is.
he means is it is true, and it's like someone saying, "Hey, you should take LSD because it opens your mind and it kind of does this, that, and the other." But you have to be in the right conditions, and you have to be with someone who knows what they're doing. And he is doing this he is the wrong person to be in this situation with.
What he is doing is manipulating her so that she consents to this action. And again, it is a very problematic scene. Like, not problematic as in, oh, it shouldn't be there, but problematic because it raises those issues of consent. You can consent, but it's the way that he has manipulated her to give that consent. And then once she does, and he gets to experience the sensation of her in San Francisco, and they're reliving the experience of the jazz bar, the chaotic music, and everything like that. And what we see is they are in the middle of the mind meld. The sensation starts to become overwhelming for T'Pol. T'Pol tries to pull away from Talaris, and we see Talaris maintain the link, maintain the meld to the point where he refuses to let go. The sensation, I love this actor for this scene, because we see, like you say, we see the user experiencing the sensation and being so overwhelmed by the sensation that he refuses to break this experience at the expense of T'Pol.
It's the way he plays it.
Right there, we've just seen in the clip there.
He's frantic. He's literally, he's like someone like buzzing, and it's actually quite horrible. It's actually quite grim, like what we see.
It is,
and
and
we get
dark.
to see this. Yeah, it's this horrible side of him, and it kind of demonstrates the whole. This is the heart of Vulcans. This is the beast that lurks within particular Vulcans, which we'll see a bit more later.
Yeah, because she is able to break the mind meld. She is obviously extremely traumatized by it. He leaves, but he does this thing.
Yeah,
and I don't know if anyone's experienced
She pushes him
this.
away, and she just goes like, I want you to leave, go away, and he's just like, oh no, we need to continue and stuff. And he eventually leaves, but then before he leaves,
he says, "What? Go on. What does he say?"
He says, "What a shame."
This is
as in he's shaming her, being like, "Oh, you're missing out by not wanting to." And we're going to be honest, there's an allegory here for sex and rape.
Yes.
And it's the idea of it's very much the idea of, oh, you're missing out by not sleeping with me. You're missing out by not doing that. It's like the idea of being pushed away pushing someone away and them calling you a prude. Them saying, hey, you shouldn't be so fucking uptight. And it's so disrespectful and it's so horrible. And we see the tears in T'Pol's eyes and we see her sort of buckle over.
Yeah.
And she struggles to get to the actual, hilariously, bit of a spoiler for this scene, a fucking keyboard. It doesn't really fit, but it's a keyboard. And then she presses the fucking control button, and that apparently opens up communications. I was just like, really? Really, prop people? You should have done better. But presses the communications, and she basically just calls, the med bay.
Because we've covered the Cov section there, so we'll go straight into Archer's ready room. This
is I like scary Archer because the fact is the way this scene plays out, okay, is we see Archer in his ready room and we see Talaris come in and be like, oh, you summoned me here kind of thing. And Archer is really buddy. They're really sort of friendly, being like, hey, how are you getting on and stuff. Yeah. Oh yeah, you fucking know what's about to happen.
Yeah.
And it's this idea of and it's so well done, this scene.
It's a testament.
You just have you're just going, oh God, oh fucking hell, this is going to explode,
It's a testament to Bakula's acting, because Bakula is a wonderful human being and actor. And it's a testament to, as soon as this scene starts, as soon as Talaris enters, Archer is up to something, and that he is angry. But he is doing it in a very... I put it down to a very, fatherly way, shall we say, where... In this dynamic, Archer is sort of the father of T'Pol. I know that, yes, come at me, she's older, blah, 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 blah. But he is the captain. He is
it's the fact of you don't need to be biologically someone's parent, and you don't need to be older than someone to be a mother or a father figure.
Yes.
Because it's about how you act. It's about how you, the actions you take with a particular person are what defines your relationship and your role with them. And so, Archer is like a father figure to T'Pol, because despite how old she is, she's very much a fish out of water
Yeah.
in this situation, you know?
And he is over the first season developed this relationship with T'Pol where it's, I mean, we
Mm,
see it even as early on as Pajem,
mm.
where not like they are held hostage, but he will take care, he will make sure that she is warm, she is taken care of. And
It's the
with
idea of like it's one of these wonderful things because we get it occasionally in stuff where you just go where you have the natural Hollywood thing is, oh, here's a man, here's a woman, they have to be lovers. That's the
yeah,
only possible interaction that they can have. And so it does that wonderful job of being like, no, they can be friends, or they can be sort of like a, you know, a protector, sort of a father figure kind of relationship. And
yeah,
it takes it in that direction. And then obviously over the course of Enterprise, it's Trip that develops the
yeah,
emotional, you know, the uh
the emotional,
relationship
the
with, yeah,
relationship bond. But Archer and T'Pol always have that parent child dynamic to a
yeah.
very small extent, even right up to the non-existent episode that we don't discuss, where he hugs her right at the
Hmm.
end. Um, and we see with this, you know what's coming, you can sense what's coming, and he makes a small talk with Solaris, but then he goes, "T'Pol won't be joining you today to survey the nebula. She is in sickbay." And he then gets into the discussion of the mind meld,
Yeah.
and Talaris is very Talaris is that quintessential thing. It's very much when it comes to domestic abuse,
Hmm.
where you've got the abuse. So the person who's been abused is out of the picture. They have been taken away.
Yeah.
We see the abuser is now being confronted, and the abuser immediately goes, "What goes on between me and who my
Yeah.
partner or whoever is our personal business, and it has got nothing to do with you. I want
Because
to,
and
yeah,
the way it works is because they feel like there's that control level where
yeah,
they go, they're never going to do anything about it themselves. Like I
yes,
have them under my control, so I know that if you don't interfere, I'm going to be able to keep control of the situation because my victim is not going to be strong enough to actually fight me back. And this is why there always needs to be an intervention in these situations, because that is exactly the way he acts. He's very much like, hey, this is a personal affair, don't get involved with it,
yeah.
kind of thing.
I
And
want to
obviously,
see
Archer's
to
just
Paul.
like, yeah,
Yeah,
he's like, oh, I want to see it because he knows that, you know, when they're in the room together, it'll be that situation. It'll be literally like they're in the room together and she will not say anything in front of him.
no,
Well, T'Pol probably would, but he thinks that,
no, but he's
when
breaking
he's
down.
in the room.
Yeah, he's breaking down to Paul. He's
Yeah.
like breaking her down to a controllable level. And what we see here is Archer basically going, "She's in sickbay. You are not going to see her." And what
Mm.
he does, he basically stands his ground. He says, "Sick bay is off limits to you. Perhaps I haven't made myself any more clearer." And what he is trying to do is be assertive with Talaris, but also at the same time provoke
Yeah.
Talaris, because we see that Talaris, out of the three Vashkaturs that we have seen, he is the less controlled of the three.
Mm.
And we see that Archer quite cleverly is trying to provoke a response from Talaris, and very quickly we see it in this scene where just by saying you cannot see to Paul, you are not allowed anywhere near sickbay, this
Mm.
angers Talaris to the point where he just straight up goes full primitive Vulcan, picks up
Yeah.
Archer by the collar, slams him into the bulkhead above him, and then throws him across the ready room. And Archer's just straight away,
And it's
gets
the fact of it's the fact of Archer, Archer knows that he can't win this fight because it's
nope,
a Vulcan. And
yeah,
no matter what we think of Vulcans, because we never suspected, they are ludicrously powerful. They are ludicrously
yes,
strong. They are ludicrously like fast. And he knows he can't win this fight. But the intention is he's not meant to win. He's planning to lose the fight because
to provoke him.
it demonstrates just how out of whack he is.
Yeah. And that's the thing, when he grabs the face pistol and Synoiz goes, "You've planned this," and he was like, "Well,
Yeah,
if I
he
knew I
has
was going
it
to be,
there, knowing that he would have got
if I
thrown
was going to be
over there.
hurled
And he's
across
like,
the
"Oh,
room, if I was going to be hurled across the room, I would have just done this."
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's the fact that he just suggests, you and your crew should be on their merry way. And again, this is where a scene from Tavin, I think we needed to see more from Tavin in
I think,
regards to this.
yeah, we definitely need to see the disappointment from Tavern. Like
Yeah.
the idea of him realizing how far they still have to go.
Yes.
Like it's the idea of this ideology that he has isn't there yet, and it isn't for everyone.
Yes, I
And
agree.
it's this because like we see like a reinforcement of, oh well, T'Pol should be maintaining her emotions because she's not ready to deal with it. But then we also kind of see like, yeah, Tavern's like whole cult, it won't work.
So we see Cov and Trip walk into the docking bay, and Cov basically explains like his father is getting better, they're doing some treatment, and then he reveals that Trip's like, maybe now is the time to make communication with your father. He's like, that is how I know my father as well, because I have made that leap. So we see, although we've had Archer fail to a certain point because he's trying to impart a human idealism onto T'Pol, we also see that there are some things that the Vulcans need to learn from us, and that is forgiveness. It is to build the bridges that have been burnt, because you never know what might happen, and then regret is also an emotion.
We get that. I like that we have this exploration of stuff, like the idea of that they start off the episode being like, all emotions should be explored, like all parts of experience should, like this hedonistic, like, hey, everything should be done. And then what we learn in the episode is actually anger is a terrible idea. Anger is not something that should be explored this deeply, and also regret isn't something that they want to experience. So it's this idea of going, you can't have your cake and eat it. And I kind of like that, they give him they basically say, hey, look, you're going to regret this if you don't do it. And I love that it's hopeful, because we have Kov, who is a wonderful little character. I'm really annoyed that we never see Kov again, frankly.
The final scene I wanted to discuss with Archer and T'Pol in the quarters, I did say at earlier on in the episode, there needed to be some sort of, I know Archie says I finally understand, but I feel he needed to also answer for some of his actions as well, pushing
what we get. I fucking love the cinematography in this scene. It is so good, and it's the idea of like you were saying with the dinner scene, how it's perfectly set up and it's just this wonderful thing. In this one, what we get it where Archer comes into the room. The only light source is a candle. So what we see her kneeling down on the ground, her sitting down on the ground, I think, and then Archer standing upright in the doorway, and his shadow on the wall is huge. His shadow on the wall is like this black silhouette, and it's towering over T'Pol.
Yeah.
And then and I see that as representing his sort of like lofty kind of like, I'm your captain, I know best, and also I've got these human ideals that I've been pushing upon you like throughout the episode. And then what he does is he kneels down.
He gets onto her level.
He squats down, and the shadow lowers, and it's a beautiful shot. And it's the idea of him going, okay, I do not deserve to be towering over you and imposing these things on you. And I kind of see it as he doesn't apologize because he's the captain, but his actions in this scene and the implication of the scene is the idea of he doesn't need to say the words because she understands the implication, and he basically goes, okay, I was wrong. These should be done. And it's a beautifully shot scene, and I love it so much, this bit.
It is a very good episode, but it's an episode. It's one of those episodes. Next Gen has them, DS9 has them, Voyager has them. It's one of those episodes where the science fiction is the exploration of ourselves
Mm.
and other cultures. There is, I mean, they are in a nebula. That is like literally non-existent in this episode. They get there and they do what they need to do, but that has got nothing to do with it. Ships, space, everything.
It's
nothing
the
to do with
motive
it.
for why they're there, but we don't really care
And
about the charting the nebula.
it's the exploration of these two cultures and how the Vulcans can, how if it is possible for Vulcans to tread the line between emotion and logic. And we see it with, like you said, with the three Vulcans, we see perfectly balanced. We see someone treading the line, as in they have no inhibitions, shall we say, or very little inhibitions, and then we see the extreme of basically the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Well, no, the good, the bad, and the
fucking
possibly
horrendous.
and the like sexy but too sexy and a bit creepy.
Smoldering, manipulative twat. But it's
this is the problem though. He is actually attractive, but he's so fucking smarmy that I just want to punch him in the face.
Yeah. And this is it is a fantastic episode. And if you were going to do like, I want to learn more about the Vulcans, which episode should I choose? Loads of Voyager ones with Tim Russ. This one from season 1, Fusion, definitely a lot of Enterprise season 1 when it comes to Vulcans, because we get to see Vulcans at their not rawest, but at their most like
I'd say their worst. I'd say it's literally what we get in the first couple of episodes is like in the pilot is awful. I like the Vulcans are so horrible in that.
Yeah, I agree. So that has been our review of Star Trek Enterprise's Fusion. I think I really enjoyed that. I really, really love getting into those in-depth, nitty-gritty conversations. We get terrific episodes on Trekking Up North, but we then get these types of episodes where we can just really tear it open and analyze these characters to the point where we're just like, it's 3 hours ago.
We're doing pretty well, actually.
We're doing pretty
100
well.
minutes. 100
we are
minutes.
doing pretty well. I think, though, Synoiz, I'm going to ask you this before I answer this incoming hail. Do you have any further notes to add?
No, I just wrote down that I hate jazz.
So I'm going to ask you
I do like the idea. The pizza. I like the idea of them just not, not knowing what pizza is. But no, I have nothing.
I'm going to ask you a follow-up question then.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe the Vashkatur deserve a second contact?
Definitely. But I think we get the second contact with them. I'm sure that we sort of have them implied throughout Trek.
We do.
The fact that it's the idea, but it's the Vashkatur. I think in season 4, that kind of unification, not in the Romulan Vulcan thing, but I think it's the idea of the Vashkatur. A second contact is implied by what the Vulcans become for the original series. Yeah. Because it's the idea of the Vulcans in the original series know mind melds, and they know they're a little more emotional than they are in Enterprise, and they're a little bit more understanding. So I kind of assume that I feel it's implied that the Vashkatur in the later series of Enterprise would have had a second contact.
We will get you
never know.
We will get you watching season 4, even if it kills us. Well, in that case,
as long as it's not season fucking 3 with a bullshit.
I'll just skip that. It's fine.
Here's a race that's never mentioned again. Oh, it's because of time stuff. And you're like, what is this, Doctor Who?
It's mentioned in Star Trek Beyond. We are receiving an incoming transmission.
Incoming transmission.
Father?
Daddy?
Welcome, everybody, to the double wheel of episodes! Hooray! If this is your first time watching Trekking Up North, welcome to episode 68. This is the double wheel of episodes. Programmed within it is every episode, asterisk, of Star Trek ever made. And what we do me and Science Officer Synoiz, we read out our predictions. Well, not read out. We read out your predictions in a live chat. We ask each other what we are hoping to see, and then we spin the wheel. We get an immense level of anxiety to the point where my hair turns grey, and then whatever the wheel lands on, we must review on the next episode of Trekking Up North. But before we reveal, or before
we spin the wheel, we generate
when the wheel stops, I can't talk tonight. When the wheel stops, we must all yell at the top of our lungs, "Double!"
Double!
Everyone
Double!
in the live chat must say double. Everyone in the comments must say double. Everyone on Twitter, on Facebook, just open your window and yell double in the street. Send me a carrier pigeon with a little note that says double.
Double!
Get a fortune cookie and put the word double in it so I can eat the deliciousness and then get the little go, ooh, double. Do it. We have to say.
Double.
So, wow, first prediction from Amy right there. Scorpion from Voyager.
That's it. It's a good one.
Episode.
It's a good.
I
That'll be good.
Wait
a minute. Have we done Scorpion?
Have we done Scorpion?
I don't know. I feel a bit like. We have to check our own.
I'm having to check a record. No, we haven't.
We haven't. Okay, cool.
No, we haven't. That is the climax. Oh my!
Has Daddy Lee's got the trekking meme channel
Yay!
up already?
Well done, Daddy. So Scorpion's
Thank you, Daddy.
Scorpion's a season 3 cliffhanger. Yes, thank you, Lee. All Trek memes go to that URL. Bonus points for original content. If I see anything reposted, and I know because I'm all over these Trek memes. If I see anything reposted,
God, there's so many already.
I will find.
Oh God.
So Scorpion from Amy. That's a trivia. I've got a hankering though, Synoiz. I have got a hankering.
I was looking at memes.
I've got a hankering for 2 things. 1, time travel.
Okay.
2, glorious space battles.
Oh, okay.
So
you're just wanting more fucking Enterprise. That's what you're wanting.
No. What I want is, I'm gonna have to double check the name. I want one of 2 episodes. I want either Tears of the Prophets, which is a fantastic.
It was so close. So close.
It was so close. What is there? It is. So I want Tears of the Prophets from DS9, or I want the time travel episode from Star Trek Voyager where they go back to 1996 Los Angeles, and I'm trying to remember what it is. For the love of God,
that's a strange one. Why? Can I ask why you want that one?
It is a episode.
It's literally just Tom Paris like practically sort of joygasming through the whole thing, being like, "Look, stars!" And you're like, "Thank you. You have one thing."
It is. I'm trying to find this now. I'm gonna try and find this. There it is. It is from the episode Future's End. It's the 2-part of Future's End. It was an early series Star Trek Voyager, but it was a series, a 2-parter of firsts basically. We got the Doctor with his mobile emitter, and then we get to see 29th century Starfleet starting to get involved in Voyager's journey. I think it was the 2-parter was a belter, but I want to see either Future's End or Tears of the Prophets. I know what you're going to say, but I have to do it anyway. Science Officer Synoiz, what do you want to see next week?
Well, I have to actually disappoint you because, like I said last time, TNG's not in there yet. We haven't got TNG. It's not back in there, so I can't even say that I want that episode. You can say it in the chat, Beth, because it can't possibly come up. And it's also annoying because I still really want the drum head from TNG. I really want to talk about that. But it can't come up yet.
What we need to do, I think we need to. I think it needs to happen. What we need to do, we need to put in the original series, the animated series.
Yeah.
we need to put, and I'm sorry, we need to put Discovery in.
Do we?
We need to put season
Do
1.
we?
We need to put season 1 of Strange New Worlds in. We need to put season 1 to 3 of Lower Decks. And we need to put season 1 and 2 of Picard.
Are you sure? I mean, that does mean changing the bulb.
Change the bulb. Oh, and season 1 of Prodigy as well. We need
Okay.
we need to fatten this wheel with more delicious episodes. Because
It is a point. We need to put all of that in. I wonder if that might be too diverse if we put all of that in at once. I would probably suggest maybe we should just put two shows
you just
in.
don't want Discovery in the wheel.
I just the problem is, okay, that we skirt this, okay, by like where like everyone else is talking about Discovery and stuff. But there's no way that we can review a Discovery episode that doesn't involve me tearing it apart. And it's a bad look, you know? Like where you just have
Okay.
like
Okay.
but I don't know.
I tell you what, let's
as long as
keep
it's a
it.
good one, but the chances of it
I will do you a
on
deal.
5 episodes.
I will do you a special one-time deal. Let's put in 1 to 3 of Lower Decks and 1 and 2 of Picard. Keep it on a TNG vibe, shall we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, 1 and 2 of Picard is still terrible, but
But we could but
we'll discuss it. But we definitely need to put other series in. But I do think it's probably that we should do 2. I mean, I'm fine if we want to put Discovery and Lower Decks in, but I don't think we should basically go, hey, because it dilutes the chances of us getting DS9 or getting Voyager, and there's still so much to discuss with
there
them.
is. There is, I agree. But let's just try and fatten the wheel a little bit.
Lee's just said, would it matter what episode of Discovery came up? Oh, what happened in this episode? Burnham cried and was a dick, and then got praised for it. Yes, that's basically Discovery.
But then
But
we miss out on Glorious Lorca and Pike's hair.
it is true. But we get that with Strange New World. And
We do. We should totally discuss season 1 of Strange New Worlds. But anyway, are we ready? Go on.
The episode I do want, okay? There's 2 episodes that I do want. One of them is an episode that I have to rewatch anyway for our talk at Destination Trek in a couple of weeks, which is I want to go into one of the psychopath episodes with Brad Dourif from Voyager. Because we obviously have the serial killer episode. I forgot what it's called. We have the serial killer because our talk is on neurodivergency in Trek. So the idea of he's one of the characters that I want to bring up in it, of he's an actual murderer. He is an actual psychopath in Trek. And it's a very interesting character because it goes into it quite well. And then there's a follow-up episode later. Well, the first episode is him and Tuvok basically, and Tuvok trying to understand how he's like this and help him through it. And then the follow-up episode is a kind of mild redemption arc for him, but in a weird way, where it basically goes, oh, there's a situation where his insane violence actually saves everyone. And it's such a weird tack, like for the show to take. But those are 2 episodes I'd love, because obviously Tuvok and neurodivergency with the psychopath. And then the other episode I want is after we watched Babel, last week for DS9. Naturally, as it's DS9 and not Discovery, I continued watching the next episode. And one of the episodes following it is the episode called Dax. And it has one of my favorite one-off characters in all Trekkin, which is basically the episode, if you don't remember it, is the one where Dax gets put on trial for a crime that her what's the term? And antidistant self, I think it is. For basically what Curzon, her previous host, did. She gets put on trial for it. And it has this judge, this Bajoran judge running the trial, who is the most egregious character in all of Trek, including all the Vulcans and everything. And she is fucking brilliant. I don't know whether the actress was scripted that way or if she just did it. But I'd love to talk about that episode because it's a brilliant one, and we get the return of Data's mum, and she plays various characters in Voyager as well. But yeah,
You have really thought about this. Thank God you never mentioned Code of Honor. I'm so relieved.
it can't come up. It can't come up.
I know, it's
I'd love it to happen,
delicious.
but
It's
even
deliciously erotic. Right.
even the fingers crossed won't make Code of Honor come up.
Are we ready to spin the wheel, everybody?
Yeah, come on, everyone, get ready to yell "Dabble!"
3, 2, 1. Anxiety!
This would have been a perfect chance for me to just fix it all to be Code of Honor.
Star Trek Voyager, Body and Soul.
I have no idea what this one is.
Sounds like a
What's that
shower
little
gel.
dot at the top? Why is there a little dot? Have I
That's the
programmed
world's
it
smallest screenshot.
wrong?
This is fantastic. You are going to love this because this is a 7 of 9 episode
Yay!
and a Tuvok episode.
Yes!
The
Tim Ross,
synopsis.
you fuckers!
If anyone can get me Tim Russ by next week to talk about Tuvok's Pon Far, I will do all the unholy things that you can imagine. You can clip this, you can record this, you can play this to Tim Russ, Mr. Russ. Hang on.
Mr. Ross.
Computer, go to two-person.
We'll let you speak. It won't be like that time on the Shuttlepod show.
Go to two-person. Yes, I'm the less.
Am I getting in trouble? I think I am.
I'm the less creepy British person. Mr. Russ.
I'm still annoyed. I know it's a private conversation, but I'm still annoyed that they had Tim Russ in an interview and that the guy just didn't let him speak, and it annoys me. But anyway.
It wasn't me that said that. It was Moopsy. Right. Oh, I'm in so much trouble.
You're not in trouble. I'm in trouble. I'm the one saying it. I was the one who had a rant about it. But anyway.
I'm in so much trouble. Mr. Russ. Someone come record this.
Daddy Russ.
Mr. Russ.
Maybe.
I am appealing to you as not only a man of exquisite taste and acting skill, but as a fan of all things Star Trek. I would love for you to join us next week live. Is it live?
I don't think I'm doing anything next week, so it probably is.
I would love for you to join us live at 8 p.m. British summertime. So that's 12 p.m. California Pacific time.
And raining.
And raining on Trekking Up North to review Body and Soul with us next week. I would love for you to do that. If someone can tweet this to Tim Russ, if someone could send this to Tim Russ.
Someone clip this, we'll send it to Tim Russ. We'll be like, I just can't believe what a stan of Tim Russ I am. Like don't I like a stan as in like a massive fan? It's
right.
weird. It's a reference to an Eminem song which sampled.
Oh, the rap music. I get you.
Oh yes, the rap, the
hip
rap
and,
music,
the hip and the hop with the drum and bass. But yeah, here we go.
the drum and bass. It sounds like a pub.
Dear Tim, I wrote to you, but you ain't replying.
Oh God, no! Is Tim in the boot of your car? Is that where Tim Russ is?
Maybe.
No, but don't I always gush about Tim Russ, though, where I'm literally like, but it's that perfect example of when you get someone on Trek who gets Trek, is a massive fan of Trek, and just does the most fucking phenomenal job. Like, remember how we were gushing when he like appears in Picard season 3, where we were like, yes, you fucker, Tuvok.
If you don't want to appear next week, we are at Destination Trek on the 28th of July, and we will find you and we will shower you with all the love and business cards with all of our contact details that you can fathom.
Hold on, you showering people with cards, that's a bad memory. Let's not bring that back. But
it's fine. It's fine. She got a skateboard out of it.
I love that we were like, hey,
She
this is
has a
short
walker.
episode, and we've done 20 minutes of bollocks.
She has a walker. What does she need with a skateboard? What does God need with a skateboard? But yes, anyway, if someone can get Tim Russ on Trekking Up North next week, I would absolutely love you forever. But anyway, the synopsis for next week's Star Trek
I love how we
Voyager.
just haven't even attempted Jerry Ryan. We haven't even said, like, oh yeah, that'd be nice.
I'd be far too intimidated. But anyway, the synopsis for Blood and Soul, Star Trek Voyager, Season 7, Episode 7. When the Delta Flyer is attacked, the Doctor must hide his program in Seven's Borg implants. Meanwhile, Tuvok undergoes the Ponfar. So this is going to be a good one. This is a late series Voyager episode. We get a good 7 of 9 acting range, Jerry Ryan acting range, and we get Tuvok. What's not to love? Health and safety be damned. Screw you, Lee. But yeah,
Things that aged badly.
That has been this week's Trekking Up North. That has been our review of Star Trek Enterprise's Fusion. If you liked this, please click like. Please subscribe to Nerdy Up North if you have not already, and tickle that bell. In the description below, you will see all of the friends of Trekking Up North. Please give them all a like and subscribe. You will see some tasty little Velvet Snatch URLs down there. Please go visit them. And we will see Nina trying to jump out of the plane with a parachute, and we are funding the ability for her to have one so she lands safely and can continue her murderous rampage through Ireland. So please donate to that if you can. Have you got anything else left to add, Synoiz?
I would say, if you can, please go to store.thevelvetsnatch.com, and the link is in the description. And yeah, check out my merch, because obviously merch sales are very good. They provide money for my campaign and whatnot, and yeah, it looks cool, because I'm really enjoying it though, because we launched the merch store last week, and then we've had the first couple of customers getting their stuff through this week. And it's been brilliant. Like, just seeing people wearing T-shirts with my face on and stuff, and being able to sort of like, repost it and stuff is, I don't know. I quite like the experience.
Oh,
yeah.
hello
And then,
there.
oh, hello.
I'm
hello
the Velvet
there.
Snatch.
Yeah, and the other thing is, if you are in the northeast of England and you're watching this live, please join us for the quiz tomorrow.
Yes!
Goodwill's not going to be there because, you other commitments.
I've got
But
far
it's the
too
fact
many
of-
teapots.
Far too many teapots. But it's the idea of, if you're in the northeast and you want to join us for a horror-themed nerdy quiz and have a bit of a meet-up, and then afterwards, spicy cocktails with the gang, come
Behold the
along
horror.
to Peak Retreat in Sunderland. Oh, God!
Behold
Why
the
is the
horror.
apostrophe there?
Why is he sitting in the teapot tonight?
I don't know. But I just love the look of horror on Kelly's face, where
I
Kelly
wish to
is...
be free.
Kelly was a teacher,
Of
and
English.
the actual horror of her going, why is there an apostrophe in Cheers? It's so horrible. Anyway, yeah, that's all I have to plug, but go and join the meme channel and show us your best memes.
And we will reveal them next week. Speaking of next week, until then, my lovelies, take care of each other, stay safe, and as always, live long and prosper. And Miles? Miles! What are you doing near Christopher?
Miles.